What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Josiah Williams, and you're checking out DNC Digital. Yeah.
They never said it would be easy. You just get to the point where you gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, wrestle, flow. Y'all know what the name is. Made it to the top of the cards and the times got hard. Now I gotta make changes. Looks like I'ma just work on patience. This won't stop my path toward greatness. Allow me to reintroduce. Now you just gave me a boost. I'm stepping out of the suits. Now I got nothing but time. Now I got time for the juice. I am an army of troops. I am on top of the roof. I am not finna be cooped. I work too hard for me to allow this to be an excuse. Yeah, I don't doubt where I'm headed, even if I ain't aware of the next. I've been living by faith, even without a chain that I wear on the neck. I've been learning from the age, making the most out of all of the space. I got a story to chase. I just kinda tell the story on top of the base. I am alive for a reason. I still thrive. In my weakness, I am Kawhi. On defense, praise on high. Oh Lord Jesus, I don't trust no Robert Dobacks. What's your role? You should know that. This right here is a throwback. Wrestle flow, brought the flow back. What up? Wrestle flow, brought the flow back. What up? It's these type of situations that'll give you the motivation you need. I'm ready to do everything that I ever wanted. Yeah. Hold up, I shook hands with Paul Heyman. He might have transferred some greatness. I feel my plans in rotation, and they might need work, might need maintenance. But I feel like what's in front of me ain't gonna stop me. I will never be someone else's copy. I am Brock Lesnar when you look inside me. An unsettled beast in a rapper's body. I'm passionate. Keith Lee from the top rope. I am top dope, coming basking it. Adam Cope with the black coat and the briefcase. Now I'm cashing it. Weird times when you realize what we're now in a state of. Really, I want what I once had a plate of. Now I'm at home and I'm writing creative. Wow, I know I ain't done here. This was what I once feared. I look at where I'm at now and how it all happened in 1 year. I'm blessed, not stressed. I've worked with the best. If any of them were in my spot, I know they work, not rest. This is the next chapter. Promise I'm never gonna step backwards. Said this is the next chapter. I'm already writing what's next after. Yeah, I never slow, got in control. I'm on a roll, I gotta go. Already said, I'm letting them know. Look at the growth. What up? Wrestle flow, brought the flow back. What up? Wrestle flow, brought the flow back. What up? Yeah. Wrestle flow, yeah.
What's going on, everybody? This is your boy from DNC Digital, back with another episode of DNC Radio. What you just heard is I'm Back by Josiah Williams on the Furlough Freestyle EP that he just put out. Josiah Williams is a very, very multi-talented guy. He is a Christian rapper, and he does a lot of Christian rap, and he was a part of NXT. And so we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff that he's done and so on and so forth. Mr. Williams, welcome to the show, sir.
What's happening, man? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you so much for taking out the time to do the show.
Oh, man, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So doing a bunch of I did a bunch of research on you, and I was a fan already, but a lot of stuff you were able to accomplish. So I want to get into this quickly. You were born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Is that correct?
Born and raised, yes, sir. All the way through high school. Graduated and then went off to college outside of Wisconsin.
So at 2 years old, you already knew the entire script to Lion King. And then at 5, you were already doing community theater, and at 10, you learned the drums. So talk to me about this prodigy-like talent that you started having. How were your parents, and what role did they play in all of these things that you did as a kid?
Yeah, man. So my mom came to Milwaukee to be a youth minister, and she was someone who always incorporated not just going to like the YMCA and going to the Boys and Girls Club, but really getting a part of programs that offered something that taught you something that can be long term, right? So beginning literally kindergarten, K4, I was a part of an art school where, you learn about math and history and everything else, but we also had music and art and dance, drama at the time. So I think that kind of set the tone really for the rest of my life. I went to art schools from kindergarten all the way up until high school. But when you're constantly around all types of artistic expression, I feel like you kind of seep into it, right? So playing the drums, writing a little bit of poetry, being involved in local theater, being involved in theater at school. I mean, I don't know, it just drew me in, and I think that's what led kind of like my life path in a sense. So my mom gets all the credit for that because she's the one who kind of instilled that into me.
Being such a young kid with all that stuff on your hands, and like, did you ever have stage fright at all, or were you just so down to tackle all these things?
I don't remember ever having any stage fright. There are a couple of, performances where it seems like things are going, like if you miss a line or something like that, then you get a little nervous, right? That's always the thing of, oh shoot, I just forgot that. So there's that momentary. But no, I don't think I ever had many major moments of stage fright. I felt comfortable. I felt like I wanted to give people something something to connect with. And I don't know if I even understood that at an early age, but you can tell when you're making somebody else or helping somebody else to feel good. So I remember, my fifth grade graduation, completion, whatever you want to call it, and we sang an original kind of, like a remix version of, I think the title of the song is "I Know I Can" by Nas, and I kind of like was doing the drums on stage for that, and everybody was like, "Man, you weren't nervous?" I'm like, "No, it felt cool," because you see like, my mom screaming and like, "Go Josiah," and all this other little stuff. So it's like, no, I don't really feel a lot of nerves, especially in moments like that where you're so supported. So yeah, I think a part of it was that it was natural, but a part of it also too is like you're in a safe environment where, hey, if you fail, that's okay. We pick you back up. So yeah, no, not a lot of fright.
Somebody you worked with, Jimmy Bridgman, founder of Rock Solid Studios, says that you have lyrics that encourage you and that build you up. Going back to the support when you're doing all your stuff, how important is that to help you further yourself in your music career?
Yeah, you're saying how important is it to have people that support you and to have like a support system?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I remember making my first mixtape in 2010, and it was bad. It was whack. It was trash. It was not a good representation, not even of myself, but of music. Like I was really ambitious. I was really ambitious, and I did it so fast that I didn't seek anyone's opinion, that I didn't execute it in any way that would seem good or remotely great possible. Like it wasn't the greatest body of work, and I felt like the people who were around me at the time were honest enough to say, "Hey, man, we want to help you with this, but that's not exactly the best representation of what you could do." And I say that not from like a content perspective. Like I wasn't talking crazy or anything like that. It was just like I didn't have anything mixed or mastered. I wasn't recording it the right way. Like all of the things that help make music sound great, I wasn't doing. So in that aspect, yeah, it's very helpful to have a support system. But I think even before that, like, yes, at the age of 2, I was reciting Lion King lines and script, but would I be doing that without my mom encouraging me? Would I be, on stage performing in musical theater and all this other stuff if I didn't have someone there who told me that I could do that? Would I eventually be releasing professional music if I didn't have the people who were there helping me and checking me and guiding me, not even from a musical standpoint, but like life, pouring into my life and pouring into my mind? I feel like that's one of the strongest things about my life, is that I can point to so many people that, it's not about like they're giving me money. It's not about like they're giving me gifts. It's like, these are the people who have helped me along the way since day one. Yeah, that's absolutely huge.
When you talk about your first mixtape, I read that your early music was more R&B inspired, sexualized partying and drinking. Can you talk about the decision to not do that kind of content, and when you dove into Christian rap?
Yeah, so for me, all this stuff started in high school. I was, I don't know if I could call myself a poet, but I loved writing poetry, loved writing spoken word. When I went to college, it kind of shifted into music a little bit. I had my first laptop. I was just kind of playing around with like beats and just trying new things, really. And it felt good. It felt really natural. So I just kept trying to do projects here. I think in college I did about 4 or 5 mixtapes and an EP, and progressively, like, it started to get a little bit better with each one. The decision came after I graduated. Right before that, I had opened for a bunch of like up and coming, quote unquote, at that time, talent.
Chance the Rapper, right? Chance
the Rapper was like, yeah, he's a great example of one who at that time, everybody in Illinois knew who he was, and a lot of people even outside of the state knew who he was, but he wasn't who Chance the Rapper is today at that time. And it was huge because that was the day that he dropped a song, Lil Wayne dropped a song that Chance the Rapper was on, a part of one of his mixtapes. So it was a really big day. It was a really fun day. But I remember going to church right after I graduated. It was like June something, and my pastor was talking about, how when you're on your walk with God, sometimes we have this moment where we kind of deviate from the path, right? If you're in a car and you have the GPS on and you're trying to get from this point to that point, the GPS tells you where to go, right? And even if you take a wrong turn, that GPS will still bring you back and say, hey, you need to take this next left turn to get back to where you're supposed to be. And I was like, is this an album? Did he just describe my next album? Because I'm getting ready to write an album based off of what he just said. And I did. And that, like, I don't know. In that moment, as he said that, I said, I'm going to create my first Christian hip hop album. So Rerouting, and then Rerouting 2 came out of that sermon. Before that, I was, so my music has always, like you said, there was some stuff early on that I wouldn't necessarily do now, but I was never really like wild and crazy with my music. I just felt like I wanted to make a turn to make my music more available for all ears. There were a couple of songs that I was like, okay, I can play this for my mom, but she's going to be like, I don't know about this. I don't know how I feel about it. So my last year in college, I switched over to just like clean music, no profanity, just keeping things clean, keeping it so that everybody could hear it. And I felt like that wasn't really enough. I felt like, okay, that's a good step. And a lot of people are starting to connect with it even a little bit more, but how can we push that? And I think Christian hip hop was the motivating factor in that, for sure.
When you talk about no profanity in rap, I feel like everybody's a rapper. Like, everybody writes. Whoever says that they don't, like, they're lying. Everybody writes raps, and everybody practices to be a rapper. It seems so easy to put profanity in it, especially when you're trying to rhyme something or you're trying to get a point across. Was it difficult for you to change that, or was it so much easier now that you're doing Christian rap to do no profanity to get a message out through a song?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that difficult. I mean, even now, it's funny. There are some wrestling flow tracks that I'm writing, and I'm like, man, this would probably hit a lot harder if I threw an F word right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember, like, because even when you listen to regular music, like, there's that punch to it. There's that grit a little bit of, oh man, I can communicate this a little bit differently with some profanity. But when you really think about it, man, like, I don't know, at least I can speak for myself. I don't need that. I didn't feel like it was something that I needed to communicate what I wanted to say. And even now, I think I've done very well without it. So no, it wasn't difficult transitioning in music. I think it was more so difficult transitioning in my like day-to-day speaking. I was potty mouth. Like I was like all through college, a little bit in high school, like I was definitely a different person than what you're hearing now. But that was more so the difficulty for me.
I'm gonna ask you the question that brought me to the dance. A little backstory. You were doing an Instagram live, and I was lucky enough to get on your live, and you were allowing your fans and your followers to ask you questions. And I asked you a question that you said. I'm going to say it out loud. I'm going to repeat it because it's a point of pride for me that you said it was your favorite question that people have asked you since your lives. So like I said, the Christian rapper, it's not that commercially successful. And you know what? I've heard I heard your last EP, and I was listening to True Gold, and it's awesome, uplifting stuff. But like you said, and I'm gonna let you answer it. What's the most surprising thing somebody can realize when they listen to Christian rap for the first time?
Yeah, I think, man, I remember my first time listening to Christian rap as like not just one song, but a body of work, and it was Lecrae. And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, yes, he's talking about Jesus ultimately, like that's what this whole thing is about. But man, this stuff sounds like it should be on regular syndicated hip hop radio. Like for me, there's so many artists that carry that same weight of music that you would want to hear on the radio, on a commercial, in a movie. Hip hop culture is literally everywhere. And for me, there's so much of that in Christian hip hop, that same level of excitement, that same level of engagement that, I don't know. I think people have that mentality of Christian rap is like, go to church with your Bible in your hand and swing your arms. Like, I feel like people have that very general idea of this is what Christian hip hop is. And, I don't know, man. I think people would be very surprised, to see there's some really, really, really good stuff within the genre, to the point where, like, we're having much more of an impact on the culture now, but it's like even in small, subtle ways. The NBA Finals song last year was Coming In Hot by Andy Mineo and Lecrae. So you see these little moments of like how Christian hip hop culture impacts the larger scale of the world. Video games, like it's everywhere. So I would just say, give people a chance, give Christian hip hop artists a chance, and follow a good playlist. A collection of everybody. You don't have to just try listening to one person. Look at the men and women of Christian hip hop. You'll see a little bit of everybody. It's great. It's really great.
What's really cool about your music, like I said, it's uplifting, and it really like it stimulates thoughts and conversations with other people on life lessons and life experiences. But something needs to be said about your performance. Now, when I say that, I mean like your flow and your cadence is unbelievable. Now, no, I'm not saying that just because you're on the show, but this is some good stuff. and I'm loving this new EP. Like I told you right before we started the interview, No Paycheck is like my new favorite song. And that is like, that's like my stink face 2-step song. And then I go and I listen to Look at You Now, and it's so reflective, and I love it. But going back to your performance, you've been compared to Kendrick Lamar. Now, when you go back and you think about starting and writing raps and stuff, was there somebody that you wanted to emulate, or is there somebody you try to follow the footsteps in now?
So, man, first of all, I would never compare myself to Kendrick Lamar. No, not really. And I think that was kind of what was difficult for me in the beginning, because I listened to so much like R&B and pop. Even today, I listen to more R&B, pop, and worship music than I do hip hop and rap music, which is a little bit difficult because it's not like expanding your knowledge of what you're actually doing. That's like a wrestler who loves the NBA or football more than wrestling, and they spend much more time watching that than wrestling. So it's like, I don't know. I don't consume hip hop culture as much as the regular hip hop artist. Yeah, it's kind of a challenge, and it's always been now inspiration from everybody. I am a huge Andy Mineo fan, and not just from his work as a recording artist, but also as a performing artist as well. I love what he does on stage. I love how he keeps the crowd engaged. I get inspiration from younger artists, Silas Hamilton, as a new Christian hip hop. I shouldn't say new. I mean, he's probably been around for a while, but new in the sense of like, not like Lecrae, who's been out for 20 years or whatever it is.
Okay.
Hyper Fenton is at the top of my list. He's a guy out of Texas who just, his creativity is absolutely incredible. But in general, my creative kind of sources come from everywhere. Tracy Ellis Ross, actress who I get a lot of inspiration from. Montez Ford, pro wrestler who I get a lot of inspiration from. So it kind of comes from all sides, man. But I think all of that kind of fuels the music in a way. It's like, okay, even if I haven't recorded for a while, I see somebody doing something and I'm like, man, I see how passionate they are. I want to have that passion. I want to build on that. And then that helps me in turn create whatever happens. So it comes from everywhere.
When you are creating Christian rap, there's an underlying, well, I mean, it's pretty much, as soon as you hear it, there's a message that wants to be, told to somebody. And it's more like trying to convince people that this message is better it's for the betterment of you and your life and your environment, everybody around you. Take a listen to this and you might do a lot better. How can you parallel that, being a Christian rapper, trying to give out those messages, to your time as a neighborhood enhancement coordinator?
Yeah, that's wow. You did your research.
Thank you.
It's so funny. My career, quote unquote, history is all over the place. So, I went to college for theater arts, specifically theater performance. I left college. I'm working for a congresswoman. I transitioned
Congresswoman Bustos. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, Sherry Bustos. Worked there for almost 5 years. Left there, worked for city government as the neighborhood enhancement coordinator. Left there and ended up in the WWE. So like it's all over the place. But I say this, and I'll probably say this for the rest of my life, man. Working for the city of Peoria, the neighborhood enhancement coordinator position, the community development department, my favorite job out of everything I have ever done in my life. Like, the people my team was like the greatest team of all time. I still talk to them today. I would, if anywhere injury process, I want to go back to that. I think a big part of it is because everybody was so ambitious, and we just had a really good team of people who cared about the city, and they also recognized, just like I did, that hey, we can't get anything done just like on our own. It's not about what Josiah Williams does here. It's not about what this person does in this department. Like, we literally formed such a good bond together because it was a beautiful team structure. So in that job, one of my biggest responsibilities was just going to meetings and in the neighborhood, in the communities, just listening and seeing what people were talking about, and then relaying communication from City Hall to the streets. And I think it's the same thing of like, okay, if you're listening to my music, then there has to be a purpose. There has to be something that by the end of these, 2 to 5 minutes, you're walking away with something, whether that's entertainment, whether that is honesty, whether that is directly like the gospel of Jesus Christ, whether that is, hey man, I ain't getting paid, but I'm gonna have some fun today. Like whatever it is, I feel like music can do that. And for me, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's music, if it's being the neighborhood enhancement coordinator, if it's being the guy that's walking around filming freaking Keith Lee because he's getting ready to go into some great match. Like, there's always a story that needs to be told. And yeah, that job is just kind of another example of when you take a story, when you take information, you can relate it in a way that's story-like. And we did a little bit of that with music while I was there as well. So it always transitions and translates.
Your work with Congresswoman Bustos, did that help you for big meetings? Those that you have to wear the suit and tie, and like talking to who may be intimidating people. Like, what role did she play for you in your future, not just working for her?
So that's two different questions, and I'll answer the first one. Those meetings, so like my job with her was kind of similar to the job with the city. Being a field representative for the Congresswoman was attending community events and a lot of meetings that were either like monthly, quarterly, annual, and I'm representing the Congresswoman at those meetings. So, I'm either taking notes and bringing them back in and saying, hey, here's what's going on in this neighboring city. And they're trying to do these specific things, or it's like, hey, what's a good specific example? So the city that I was in was in Peoria. There's a neighbor city called Pekin. And in Pekin, there was a transportation unit where, it's authority. So you have airports, roads, transportation meets here. So I'm kind of taking that and bringing it back into the office of, hey, here's what trains the rail systems are kind of worried about right now. Or, hey, here's these specific roads and these specific units are struggling in these areas. And I remember walking into some of those meetings and feeling like, man, I'm insignificant. Like, I don't feel qualified to be here. But when you do that for 4 or 5 years, you kind of get to know like the lingo in the room. You kind of get to know where your place is. And no, I wasn't the most important person in the room, and I didn't want to be either. And there were a lot of times where I felt like I didn't belong, but, it's a matter of building up your confidence. It's a matter of understanding your role as a human being and as the person of that office. And yeah, that definitely helped. I was able to sit in on some meetings at WWE of just like coming up with crazy fun ideas to do for like YouTube. And You know, if who's a good example? If Road Dogg is like, hey, well, what do you think? It's a reminder that, hey, someone just asked you, and let me rephrase, not just someone, a WWE Hall of Famer just asked you for your input, right? And it's a reminder of you're there for a reason. So yes, you may not have all the answers. You may not even give the best answer to that question in that moment, but you're there for a reason. So I think working in both of those offices definitely helped to elevate kind of my thinking and my confidence in what I was there to do.
Now I want to get to Wrestling Flow. It's just a genius idea. And I remember doing my own remix to Undertaker's Ministry theme.
Wow.
And it was terrible. It was terrible. It was like I referenced an electric chair and a Pez dispenser for some reason because I couldn't think about what to say.
Hilarious.
But anyway, yeah, he wouldn't have liked it. So talk about your idea for Wrestling Flow. You know what? Let me ask you: was it difficult? Maybe I don't know when you started watching professional wrestling, but was it difficult to watch it in the house, or depending on the era that you started watching it?
So first of all, for a very long time, my mom didn't let me watch it in the house. There's definitely that. Oh, wait a minute. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I didn't answer your second question from the last question. Real quick. And then I promise I'll go back. You asked me what Congresswoman Sherry Bustos meant to me or something like that.
Yes.
She was absolutely incredible. I realized while working for her, this isn't really my area of where I want to be, like politics and especially federal politics. I was like, I can't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. But she was such a genuine person, not just a politician, but somebody who would reach out and text if something was going wrong, or somebody who I can actually trust to talk to, about my family and about my music. And she was supportive of my music and said, hey, what you do outside of here is important to us as well. I remember she came to one of my performances. So she's somebody who, even to this day, just such a genuine person. So I want to throw that out there real quick. I apologize. What was the question that
no
I
worries.
answered?
No, that was a great answer. I totally forgot my follow up. We were talking about Wrestling Flow, and then what era did you start watching wrestling, and was it difficult to watch it in your house?
Oh yeah. So my mom was like, "No, we ain't watching that. That's not happening." I don't know if she had seen it. I mean, she's an adult, so she probably knew what it was and knew what was going on, and saw Stone Cold on TV flipping his middle fingers and all types of stuff. So she probably knew what was going on. I started watching right after the Attitude Era, so getting into Ruthless Aggression. So the people that I was seeing on my TV, John Cena, JBL, Rey Mysterio, Batista, eventually Randy Orton. That was kind of like my class of wrestling. And yeah, it wasn't always welcome in my house, but I mean, she saw my passion for it. She saw how much I loved it, and she knew that I wasn't going to grow up and start, doing this stuff at school and flicking people off in the middle of the street. So she eventually let me watch it, and here I am.
Yeah, definitely. Undisputed Era was your first wrestling theme that you remixed. Now, here's a two-parter. Can you explain why you always upload your videos at 11 o'clock? And tell me what it was like to immediately get response from Roderick Strong and Adam Cole.
Yeah, so that was kind of like, I always wanted to find that sweet time of, not too late in the day, but not also at 6 o'clock in the morning, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I always dropped them at 11 Central, because by, then it's 12 Eastern, it's, 9 o'clock on the West Coast. So you have it pretty much like an entire morning launch across America. And I don't know, it just felt like the right time too, especially on a Friday. Like you want something in the morning that you can see that's a little bit different, a little bit fresh. A lot of stuff happens on Mondays, but I'm like, no, we can try to change it up a little bit. So, yeah, I remember getting that notification that Roger Strong has seen the video and like I said, this is the first anything related to wrestling that I had posted out there. So when he saw it, I remember I was at work. I'm like, oh shoot, that's crazy. That's crazy. That was man 7 or 8 minutes after the show. Like really Cole saw it right out. Of course, he sent me a message later on that day, and he's like, "Hey man, I just need you to know this is great, and here are these specific reasons why." And I'm like, I'm reading a message from Adam Cole right now. That's insane. Right. It was a very cool time, and that's something that I'll never forget for sure.
And then you were able to. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit, but we're going to go back. You were able to come out with Adam Cole at TakeOver 25. Now, I was watching the WWE PC feature on that specific story, and I got to tell you that I just felt happy for you when it happened. I got choked up for you because I just saw like how passionate you were and how much energy you brought. Not to mention that the verse is so dope. Like it's so clever, black and gold in the logo, got the game in a chokehold, and you timed the boom. You even got the people in the crowd not knowing what, like they did the Bebe on the 8th bar, I think you did. But were you already like you were saying you were nervous because of the situation in itself? But as far as performing in front of a crowd, you've done concerts. You went back to Peoria to perform your last leg of your tour, and you emceed basketball games at Bradley University. That part of that situation, was that easy for you, or were you still nervous throughout the whole thing?
No, I was like, it's so weird. I was not. I wasn't nervous. I remember before we went out, because we're all kind of standing there right by the curtain, and I could feel my heart pounding, but it didn't feel like nervous energy. It felt like excitement. I felt really anxious. And it's also a different situation because like that was the first song. So it's not like something that I had just written the day before or, like a newer track where I'm still trying to remember the words. I'm like, this is ingrained in my body. Like this verse is a verse that I can, if somebody just played it, bow, do the verse. Like, you got it. I think more importantly, I was just like, I want this to be one of the coolest moments, not just in my life, but in NXT history, right? Because not only is this an opportunity that I'll probably never get again, but Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era personally asked for this. Like, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, these guys, Road Dogg they wanted this to happen. And for this to take place essentially 1 or 2 months after I had gotten hired, like I wanted this to be such a huge moment. And I just wanted it to go well. So I bottled up all of that energy and I went out there and just, gave it as a great of a performance as I could. Now, of course, when I look back on it, I'm like, oh man, I wish I did this or I wish I did that. But, I'm definitely proud of what happened. I don't look at it and think, I don't want to watch that. You know what I mean? Like that was a dream come true. And I think I executed it the way that I wanted to.
I was almost scared that you were like going to bump into him because you guys kept weaving like right there at the end of the ramp. And I'm like, it almost looked like Adam Cole didn't even know you were there. Like, can you tell me anything that he told you before the entrance to maybe encourage you?
So the original idea that I proposed to Triple H was that I would go out, spit the verse, and then on the boom, that's when Cole would begin walking out.
Okay.
And then I would kind of either repeat it or debut a second verse. That was
Okay.
the original idea. We tried it. He's like, what if you're kind of like his hype man? He's like, what if you were kind of like his hype man, and as he's coming down the ramp, you're just hyping him up. And Cole knows this stuff already, so he's like, he's acknowledging the moment, but not even really interacting with you. It's much more like, I need to get ready for this moment because I have a huge fight. And it worked perfectly. They're like, and Road Dogg's like, hey man, don't be afraid. Like, get in front of the camera, get in front of him, weave and bob, like, do what you got to do. I'm like, all right, man, I'll do what you want me to do. No, man, it was such a cool moment. That's something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life, for sure.
That's awesome. So tell me about I feel like you have so many cool stories, and I wish we can get to them all, but I guess I'm just going to give you the umbrella question. Tell me about your time at NXT and what that meant to you.
Amazing. I mean, meeting the people that you see as entertainers on television, big, bold characters, and getting to know the people behind those characters. I would say a lot of those people are true and genuine friends to me, even right now still. And I think they were huge in kind of lifting my confidence and carrying me through. Because, yes, I was doing a lot of stuff with college basketball and emceeing there, but this is a different level of entertainment, and it's a different type of entertainment as well. So I learned a lot. My job is mostly like day-to-day YouTube filming, social interaction, Twitter, Facebook, all that type of stuff, and kind of creating stories and help shaping what was going on the day-to-day at the PC or at NXT on Wednesdays. Or if it's like a pay-per-view moment, kind of telling a story of why NXT is involved with that or what is happening that weekend. So it was cool, man, because every day is unpredictable. You never know what's going on, especially at the PC. You never know who's training where and what type of things are happening on a day-to-day basis. So, yeah, I say that a lot of people just kind of assume that my job was in NXT talent, but that was like 10% of it. Most of it was being a WWE Performance Center, I guess. I don't know what word I would use in there, but just like a content creator, essentially. Just seeing what's happening every day there and communicating that to the WWE universe.
When you look back and you got any story that sticks out when it comes to quirky personalities, something that we might not expect from a certain talent over there at NXT?
Nothing that you wouldn't expect. I mean, I spent a lot of time hanging out with Montez Ford, and he's somebody who the energy that you see on TV is the energy that you see on a day-to-day basis from him. I uploaded a couple of videos so my best friend at work, Cornell, and I, like, a big part of our job is just keeping the camera charged and following around and getting moments, right?
Okay.
There are a couple of videos on my YouTube channel of, like, the Street Profits are not happy with Josiah Williams. Or Street Profits,
I was watching those.
All of those things were not planned. Those things were just like, we get the camera out and press record and see what happens. I think that kind of speaks to just like who these people are on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, man, it's amazing. Just, I don't know. You get to know some really, really good people. I share this a lot. Keith Lee is one of the greatest human beings I've ever met, and I'm sure everybody can kind of tell that by who he is. Right before he went out for the North American Championship match that he won, I was like, "Hey, dog, you You got a big task ahead of you. You better go out there, because it was January. I was like, you got to win this for Martin Luther King, bro. You got to do this for Martin Luther King Day. He's like, all right, bet. He came back with it. He said, okay, yes. There's a lot of fun moments, man, and it's one of those things too where it happens every day. So it's like I don't even know. It's hard to find that one story because it happens all the time. Just so many good people there.
Talk about the leadership you were under with Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg. How instrumental? I mean, everybody knows that they're instrumental in keeping that place up, but yeah, talk about their leadership and how they are, you know, as far as communicating with everybody.
Yeah, it's great. I would see Triple H maybe once or twice a week, depending on what was going on. You know, Road Dogg and Shawn Michaels are there a bit more frequently. And I mean, those are the names obviously that you know because of TV, but there are a lot of other people there in the building, you know, producers, coaches, people on like film crew, and there are so many people there that people don't know by name, but have a huge role in keeping WWE running and keeping the Performance Center running. But, you know, speaking specifically to your question, I mean, everybody's so, or at least the three guys that you mentioned are so patient. And I think it's because they also understand, like, we're learning, right? Like, I just got here last year. So, you know, I'm learning different things. So there was a moment where, what was that? Right after Survivor Series, the NXT, that Wednesday after Survivor Series, Shawn Michaels comes up to me. He's like, hey, that rap that you did for Twitter, yeah, we want you to do that live on TV tomorrow. I'm like, what? What'd you say? What? So there's there's that confidence of like, hey, we want to try something different. We just want to see how this goes. We want to see how this works. That was a moment where not only was I incredibly nervous and anxious, but I was like freaking out because the version of the song that I did for social media was not the version that we did live. We tried something completely different just to shape the story a bit. And what happened was I wasn't familiar with it, and I was kind of forgetting the lyrics as we were rehearsing it. And that takes you kind of like to a really painful place of like, oh man, I'm letting people down right now. I am wasting an opportunity right now. And I think in the midst of all of that, because I spoke to all three of those guys, Triple H is like, hey man, just do what you got to do. Like, you'll be fine. You're a rapper. You'll be all right. Shawn Michaels and Road Dogg, I actually had a cool chance to like pray with them right before I went out for that cold open.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of just speaks to who they are as human beings. And it's like, it's not just preparing people to get inside of a ring and perform. It's like, this is life work. You can take this stuff wherever. And I'm very thankful for everyone at the PC, but especially those members of Generation X who are literally shaping and helping to create the future. And I'm not just saying that as somebody who, you know, is followed by these people on social media. I'm not just saying that somebody who knows them. I'm being 100% honest. That's just who they are. And I'm very, very thankful for that.
You've had a lot of experiences that you're able to shake a hand with your poker face, no matter who you meet. Can you think of anybody who you met in WWE that you just couldn't keep your cool with, as far as being a fan?
Niven.
Like, I'm sorry?
It was Piper Niven for sure.
Piper Niven, really?
Yes. So you got to keep it in mind for me, like, So I didn't start actually working for WWE until April or May of 2019. But I came to the Performance Center in February. Yeah, I came to the Performance 2 months before that to kind of just like tour around, see what was going on. So by that point, by the end of that trip, I met, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, everybody who was in NXT at that time. So like Matt Riddle, Ricochet, the Street Profits, Bianca Belair, Undisputed Era, like everybody. My first weekend with the company after that was WrestleMania weekend. So in my first time there, I now met, John Cena, Undertaker, who quote unquote, like everybody was already there. So who are the people that I hadn't had a chance to meet yet? NXT UK. Like so I remember that day. I remember seeing her. She was talking to my best friend Cornell, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's Piper Niven right there. That's Piper Niven." Like, yeah. I even, when there's a video on the PC channel and on his own personal Instagram, but like The Rock came to the PC, and that was a huge deal. Like when I saw him, I'm like, but I wasn't nervous for that. It was just like, that's really Dwayne. And not only that, but I was doing these on me later that day you're going to interview The Rock tonight. So have your questions ready. I think a big part of those moments is remembering and knowing you've got a job to do still. So that interview they never posted, but hopefully at some point in the future I'll be able to share that with everyone, because it was really a cool moment, man.
That's awesome, man. I'm happy for you, and I want to thank you for taking the time out to do the show. It's just so cool because I've been a fan of you with all that Wrestling Flow stuff on YouTube and into your career in NXT. Talk to me about COVID-19 messed a lot of things up for all of us. A lot of people were out of work. There are a few questions in this, but I'm going to make sure I time them correctly. Can you talk about the day that you got the phone call from NXT, and then after that, talk about you dove into the Furlough Freestyles EP.
Yeah, so there was notification that was sent through text message that I'd be furloughed. Let me go back, because before that there was a video call that happened. But the video call said if you receive the text message, then that's how you know you're not going to be getting a paycheck right now. So I kind of prepared myself for the worst as I'm listening to the video call and watching. I'm like, all right, this could happen to me. This could be my situation. So I was on a walk just in the neighborhood at that time because, like, you need some fresh air, especially at the beginning stages of all this. I'm like, okay, you need to get out of the house for a little bit. So when I got back into the house and I checked my phone, I had that text message. I'm like, all right, so we prepared for this. This is gonna be all right. It's gonna be whatever it is. It created, of course, a lot of like up and down days. Some days were easy, some days were absolutely not. Some days still are absolutely not easy. But I knew by the end of that day, I was like, I got to do something. I have to figure out something creative to do during this time and not sit here. So I started working on the Furlough Freestyles and finished it within a couple of days. I had it mixed and mastered, and it was supposed to be released. I submitted that like the second to last week of April. It was supposed to be released on Friday, May 8th. Like pretty much a week or two after a couple of weeks, because I got the call or the text message on April 15th. May 8th was going to be the release date of the Furlough Freestyles. And because the company that I work with, um, like, they're, what are my words? Use the music to like Spotify and Apple Music. They're also impacted by COVID-19. Hey, we don't have as many people in the office right now. We don't have as many people checking submissions. So ultimately, obviously, it got pushed back to May 29th. But it was kind of for a couple of reasons. I wanted to stay busy. I wanted to make some money. But I also wanted to show people, like, just because I'm not doing what I was doing and just because I'm sitting in my house right now, that doesn't mean, one, be lazy, two, I've got so much passion and fuel in my heart, in my mind. I'm not stopping right now because of a pandemic. I'm not gonna stop for any reason. I still will continue to write and still will continue to release music as appropriate, when the time is right or whatever. But I'm like, I have to do something. I can't just sit here at my kitchen table playing with Cheerios. Like, I gotta do something. And it's been a big help. And I think over the next few months, people will start to see some of the projects that I've been working on, that, it helps to be creative and it helps to have an outlet like this to express a lot of these things.
How did you keep that attitude? This stuff, it mentally affected a lot of people. Me included. I sat there for about a week and a half before I started getting creative with my stuff again and started, really doing my podcast and my interviews. So talk about like how you decided. Well, I mean, not how you decided, but what helped you decide, like, I'm not going to just sit here. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to put this music out and I'm going to put some awesome, awesome music out.
I think it's one of those things where it's not just a one-time decision. It's kind of how I view life, right? Everybody knows by now when I'm at WWE, I am not allowed, in a sense, to do stuff like this, like Wrestle and Flow. Because the goal and the hope is that it ends up as a actual WWE like album or something one day, right? But it conflicts with, you're representing WWE and then you're doing wrestling kind of work on the side. Like, so going into that, I'm like, okay, this is something that I already know. It's not a surprise. Everybody can kind of already tell this. Am I going to sit here and frown about it? Am I going to sit here and be frustrated knowing what I got into in the beginning? Or am I going to be creative and do something else? Right? Like, I'm the only human being that can give the positivity for myself that I can. Everybody in the world can be smiling around me. I have to make that choice on my own to be a light for myself and for other people. Sorry, my phone just said 10%. I have to make that choice for myself. So I don't know. I think I just choose on a day-to-day to live like someone else needs to hear what I have to say. Be humble. Hey, buddy, come here. Getting ready to start storming. Be humble. Show the world that there's a lot more than what is currently offered. And just live each day like there's something important to communicate to everyone.
Man, that's such a good, that sounded so great. Lately, this past week, some sad stuff's been going on after the death of George Floyd and the protesting and the looting and all the violence and the racial tension. Is there anything you want to say on that subject? I'm not even sure what question to ask, but what are your feelings on what's been happening this past week?
Well, first of all, it's not just this past week. That's one of the many things that everyone needs to understand. Yes, this name specifically of George Floyd is what is happening this week. this has been happening for much longer than the past 7 days. Police brutality and racism, along with so many other things in our world, has not just started 7 days ago. So as a Black man, this is something that, we talk about, we being my family and friends, a lot over the past, well, how old am I? 28? 28 years. So yes, it's gotten to a point now this week where it's being talked about on a global level because there are protests in all 50 states and protests overseas. It's gotten to a point where this level, social media is being used more than it has ever been to help communicate it. But this isn't new, and it's not, I don't know, it's not a surprise either, unfortunately, because this continues to happen. So to answer your question, if there's anything that I would want to say on the topic, yes, it's that Black Lives Matter, period. Like, that's it. In addition to those things, I've kind of been doing this on Twitter and Instagram too, because it's so hard. On one hand, social media is such a great tool to use to learn about a lot of this stuff. But it's also been a place that it's painful because people are posting videos of human beings being murdered. People are using their social media to completely degrade and disrespect and argue and I guess kind of try to drown out the voices that are speaking up on behalf of so many things that are happening right now. And that gets to the point where you're mentally just like exhausted and frustrated. And I had to allow myself some time to like step away from that as well. So I think I would encourage people to continue to be active, to continue to be informed, but also to take care of yourself at the same time. If you feel like you are overwhelmed, if you are battling mental addictions or afflictions at this time, if whether it's depression, if it's just even simple like I can't handle this right now. If it's not named or if you don't know what it is, if you feel anxious, if you feel frustrated to the point where you can't read these things, step away. You can step away and you can be either an ally or you can take action without having to use social media as your main platform or your main crutch. There are so many other things that you can do, whether that's donating or learning and reading, protesting in person, finding different ways to protest right where you are, teaching people, calling people, getting involved in a local chapter of like an NAACP. The list can go on and on and on of things that you can do. But remember to use your social media wisely and take it easy.
Do you feel like if you don't put anything on social media that you're also silent on the topic itself? Because of the power of social media, a lot of people are saying if you don't say anything, then you're not with us. Speaking as a Black man, do you take any issue on somebody just not posting anything on the matter?
I think it depends on the person. I can only speak on behalf of myself. So I think as someone who, I'm not like John Cena with 20 trillion followers, but I do have people that look at me and are searching. And I've always felt like, if I can tell you about my new single coming out, then I can also tell you that Black Lives Matter. That's just how I view it. Of like, if I can ask for your support financially for all of my creativity, and if I can post a picture of me and some gummy bears and get, a couple thousand likes or whatever it is, I can also use my platform to tell you something. Now, that may not work for some people. I can't speak on their behalf, but I can tell you that I choose to, when something like this, that I know that I have a voice and that people are listening, and I know that one day I will, God willing, have Black children. that will be looking to me for guidance. I just want to help as I can. And I know that my platform can be something that helps. So that's just what I choose to do. I choose to educate people, but to give people hope, and to share my message that these lives are absolutely crucial. And it's not to put anyone down, it's to lift us up.
Very, very well said, sir. We're already coming to the tail end of this interview. I just got a few minutes left. Thanks again for doing the time. I just have these quick questions that I'm just gonna fire off, and you just hit me with the answer real quick. These don't involve a lot of time. So, the most underrated wrestler's theme song is
Mike Kanellis when he was in WWE. Him and Maria Kanellis. I don't even remember what it was called, but I know that it's beautiful. Period.
How do you feel about Maven's Toughen Up theme song?
I don't remember it. I would have to go back and
come on. Well, that's such a good one. All right. How about your guilty pleasure theme song?
Peyton Royce. Not the Iconics. Not Billy Kay's theme song. Peyton Royce's theme song. Like I think she only used it in NXT. Dang, what's it called? I think it's called Sultry.
Okay.
That one. That was like, I love that song.
I had to leave the house quickly. Who won the tournament on your YouTube live with the theme song?
Oh man, I don't remember. I got to go back and check.
That was such. And you know what? I wish I'm gonna invite you, and I'm gonna say this now. I'm gonna invite you. I think we should do a versus with theme songs on Instagram Live. I think that'd be fun.
Oh, yo, I did that with the guy that I've been telling you about, Cornell, and it was so controversial because half of the people thought. So I ended up winning, but because we had 4 judges, 1 or 2 of the judges was like, "Oh no, we just wanted Cornell to lose." I was like, "Oh,
come on, that's not cool." All right, I think it should be you and me with a very unbiased audience. Tell me about WrestleMania 35. I saw a video of you sitting next to Bianca Belair and the Street Profits watching Kofi Kingston win the WWE title. Can you talk about that moment for just a second?
Huge moment. Wasn't expecting to do that. I had no idea that I was going to be in there for that match that day, but I love the Street Profits. I love Bianca Belair. They are true family members of mine. And what a beautiful moment for us to end up in the same room being recorded to see Kofi Kingston win that championship. Now after this, I got to go back and watch it again. It was
I don't think enough credit is even given to Daniel Bryan because he put his all in to make sure that Kofi looked like $1 million. And I remember I was crying that night. Okay, so how about this? Your favorite verse with Leo Rush? Is it the NXT Cypher or is it Feel the Rush?
Feel the Rush, because that was the Feel the Rush was done like 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I knew, like, I did my part just for like Lillian Garcia's podcast, and then I sent it to him because he asked for it, and then he sent it back to me last year at some point, and I was like, yeah, you did a great job. So, and that's not, I mean, we still got 2 more songs at least that are done that we just haven't done anything with. So
I personally like his work. That song "I Wonder," where he's actually, that one's so good, and we still listen to it in the car. If I say to you, Josiah, we're gonna go hang out, but you have to choose. You have to choose whether we're gonna go to Chili's or we're just gonna sit down and eat gummy bears. What would it be?
We're going to Chili's, man. I'm trying to eat.
You love Chili's.
I need that 3 for 10. Yes, sir.
How intimidating was it to meet Rhea Ripley on camera?
Oh, Lord. Oh, man. I remember that day. She almost tore my face off. Yeah, Rhea's great. Our friendship has grown over the years.
Nice.
No, she's amazing. And she was so cool to work with. Like, I was going around getting these little video clips for Instagram that day, and she's like, "Okay, you better be ready." I'm like, "What does that mean?" Press record. I'm like, "Oh God." Yeah, she's great.
Have you ever thought of remixing your favorite Backstreet Boys song?
Yes, I have the beat, and I never did anything with it. I bought the beat
Wow,
maybe
really?
5 years ago. Yes.
I said that just to get a laugh out of you because you're such a Backstreet Boys fan.
No, very serious, very serious. I have a producer flipped a sample of it. It would just obviously because they own their music, so I wouldn't be selling it or anything. But yeah, that'll end up on YouTube probably one day.
Um, Going back to your Kofi Kingston moment and being a black man, hashtag Black Excellence, all these awesome pictures. There's one that everybody was a champion at the time, and everybody was a black person, and it was just a beautiful picture. Talk about Wale Mania. I know you were able to attend. Talk about that night and how it fuses what you do too, fuses hip hop fans with wrestling fans.
Yeah, I was very thankful for, man, there's a lot of people to be thankful for that night. It was, Kaz, the guy who put my piece of it together, Emilio Sparks, Wale. There's so many people who gave me an opportunity that night, and it was huge. And it was also cool because my wife, who, is supportive of everything that I do, is not she's not sitting in front of WWE TV on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Thursday, whatever. But for her to see everyone there, Wale Mania has the black wrestlers from WWE, NXT, New Japan, Impact. I don't even know where Shane Strickland at that time, Isaiah Swerve Scott at this time. I don't even remember where he was wrestling, but everybody's there. Booker T is there, and let me even point out, not just black wrestlers too. Luke Harper popped up, Tyler Bate popped up, everybody's there, right? So it's this huge environment of just beautiful. She was able to talk to Casey Catanzaro and Ricochet and Cedric Alexander. Swole was there. It was amazing to see and witness all this at once, and then for me to also kind of reach out and shake Tamatonga's hand is hey man, what's up? I'm that guy who remixed your theme song a year ago. So it was cool, man, to really see all of that and to kind of be in the middle of the experience. And I wish that it happened this year, but there's optimism in all of that. Of now we get to the next time go to Wale Mania and probably do something really huge for Shad, and so many other people.
Were you able to meet him at a Wale Mania?
Yeah. That was our first time connecting, and we used to stay in touch a little bit over Instagram. So him and JTG. So yeah, man, Wale Mania is huge. It's amazing, and I can't wait for the next one.
That's awesome. Just a few questions left. It's funny you say Cedric Alexander because I would like to know which would be the better Halloween costume. Is it Urkel or Cedric Alexander?
It's Urkel. I did Urkel a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I saw that. But then in the beginning of the NXT Cypher, you said, what is it? I am not Cedric Alexander.
Yo, you have no idea how many comments I get on YouTube of oh man, that guy looks like Cedric or Leo or Teddy Long's grandson. Or I get all this stuff every day. And I'm let me just throw it out there on an actual WWE, platform and just say
that. What would your role be in Sesame Street if you ever got that?
Oh, I don't even care. I don't care what it is. I will stand there next to anyone. I don't even gotta say anything, but I want to do a word or a letter or a number of the day. Some cool way. I don't know. So for everybody who doesn't watch Sesame Street, that's an actual segment. The letter of the day, the number of the day. I would love to do that with Big Bird, Elmo. I don't care. Anybody.
What about? So would it be? What if they tell you either Sesame Street or Barney? Because I know you had
Sesame Street.
You had the whole Barney getup in the entire room when you were a kid, right?
Yes, that's a fact. That's an absolute fact. But Sesame Street over absolutely everything.
Nice. at the end of the video on WWE PC, when you came out with Adam Cole, you say you have these moments where you doubt yourself. For everybody out there right now in this world, pandemic, Black Lives Matter, anything you want to say to anybody who doubts themselves, not just with their abilities, but maybe doubt themselves in today's world, or am I going to make it, or are we going to be okay? Anything you want to say to the people out there?
I think, and this can apply to literally everyone, because obviously I don't know specific situations. We all go through different things. The most important thing is that you are where you are for a reason. Where you are right now is where you're supposed to be in this moment for a specific reason. I hit my head on the wall 2 days ago, and it was not a cool moment, and I had some pain in my throat or on my tongue, something happened. I don't know why it happened, but it happened for a reason, and I'm here, and I'm still breathing, and I'm still alive. I'm not in a coma. This is a real story. Like, I don't know what that moment was, but I know that I'm able to still talk to you coherently today. That's number one. Number two, you are loved, period, by somebody. Do you hear thunder, buddy? I don't hear thunder, but that's probably what's happening. You are loved, either by, a family member, a friend, or by the Almighty God himself. Please know that. More than anything else, you are not alone, and that you are absolutely loved by the Creator, God. And I know that times can get very difficult, and it's not always easy to work through some of those things, but you are a child of God. You're a beautiful child of God. You are absolutely loved and adored by that God who created you, 100%.
At the end of one of your songs, you said you don't know what's going to happen now. You don't know where you're going to end up, but you know you're going to be okay. And those words stuck with me in the last few days that I've been listening to your music. Mr. Williams, Josiah, if I can call you that, thank you so much for doing the show. I appreciate you so much. I'm so glad I took a chance on your Instagram Live, and you were eating your Fruit Loops with no milk for some reason, but we were able to connect. Tell the lovely people where they can find you on social media.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. My name is Josiah Williams. You can find me across all social media at JDean Williams, DEAN Williams, on all of your favorite music platforms as either Josiah Williams or Wrestle and Flow, and jdeanwilliams.com.
And there's also a website where they can listen to the Wrestle and Flow music, right? The album?
Yeah, I mean, wherever you listen to music, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, Tidal, it's everywhere at this point. Shazam, you can find links to it. And then just if you go out, I think the easiest thing to do would be if you go to my website, there should be a link there as well, or Twitter, Facebook. If you hear interesting noises, it's because it's getting ready to thunderstorm, and my little buddy is like, "Hey, love me, help me."
No worries. Wrestle and Flow, the album, the Furlough Freestyle, which is out now. Wherever you want to listen to your music, wherever you do listen to your music, make sure you look it up. It's such a dope album. That'll be it for this episode. Guys, if you have grown a beard during the pandemic, don't be worried. Head out to CanYouHandleBar.com. Use my promo code DNC Digital, 15% off to keep that beard and mustache looking right. That's what I do. This is D, and I'm out.